On day 9 of the Diddy sex trafficking trial, we heard from musician Kid Cudi. On the stand, he was talking about Sean Combs lashing out at him in a jealous rage and then having someone torch his Porsche. Here are some highlights.
What do you do for work?
I'm an actor and musician.
Are you known by any other names?
Kid Cudi.
How do you know Ms. Ventura?
We were friends and we dated briefly.
How did you first meet Ms. Ventura?
Just at an event in New York years ago, around like 2008.
Approximately when did you date Ms. Ventura?
2011.
Who else, if you know, was Ms. Ventura involved romantically with around the time that you were dating her in 2011?
Sean Combs.
When you first were dating Ms. Ventura, what, if anything, did you know about the status of her relationship with Mr. Combs?
That she and Sean Combs had some problems, and they weren't dating anymore.
I want to direct your attention to December of 2011. Did there come a time when law enforcement responded to your home in December of 2011?
Yes.
Why did law enforcement respond in December 2011?
Because I had a break-in.
I'd like to start at the beginning of the day of the break-in. How did that day start?
Well, I got a call from Cassie around 5:30, 6 a.m., and she told me that Sean Combs had found out about us. I was really confused, but she asked me to pick her up. She sounded really stressed on the phone, nervous, scared, so I went to go pick her up and, yeah.
Why were you confused?
Because I didn't think she was still dealing with him.
And you mentioned that you went to pick her up. Is that right?
Yes.
Why did you go pick her up?
She wanted me to come pick her up, and she was also worried that he would come to my house because he asked for my address, and she gave it to him.
When you picked her up, could you please describe for the jury Ms. Ventura's demeanor?
Very stressed, nervous, just scared. Didn't know what Sean Combs would do.
Let me be a little more specific. What, if anything, had Ms. Ventura previously told you about Mr. Combs being physical with her?
That he was abusive.
After you picked up Ms. Ventura, where did you go?
I took her to the Sunset Marquis.
What's the Sunset Marquis?
It's a hotel in Los Angeles.
Why did you go to the Sunset Marquis after you picked up Ms. Ventura?
I used to frequent the Sunset Marquis, and I just thought it was safe, and just wanted to put her somewhere where she was off the radar.
Do you recognize what's depicted in these photos, Mr. Mascotti?
Yes.
What is it?
The damage from a Molotov cocktail in my Porsche.
Is this your car?
Huh?
This is your car?
Yes.
Ms. Foster, can you now please pull up for identification government exhibits 3F-105 and 3F-108? Mr. Mascotti, do you recognize what's depicted in those photographs?
Yes.
Is that your car?
Yes.
The government offers government exhibits 3F-101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 108.
No opposition, Your Honor.
Those exhibits will be admitted.
Can you publish those exhibits to the jury? Mr. Mascotti, when did you receive these photos?
While I was on my way to my house.
Who sent these photos to you?
My friend Chip.
Who is Chip?
He's a good friend and collaborator.
Why did Chip send you photographs of your car?
He was closer to my house, and I wanted to see the damage that had been done.
Did you ask Chip to go take photos for you?
Yes.
So I want to focus on these two photographs. First, on the one on the left, can you describe what's depicted in the photograph on the left?
It looks like the top of my Porsche was cut open, and that's where they inserted the Molotov cocktail.
And the photograph on the right, from what angle is that photograph taken?
It looks like that's from the passenger side looking up at the roof.
On the right-hand side of that photograph, what is the hole? Is that the same hole in the roof you can see on the photograph on the left? 3F101?
Yes.
Can you take these down, Ms. Foster, and pull up 3F103 and 3F105 side by side? Mr. Mascotti, starting with the one on the left, can you please describe what we are seeing in Government Exhibit 3F103?
That's the door to the driver's side, smoke damage.
Then what is depicted in the photograph on the right?
That's the hole in my roof.
Can you take those down, Ms. Foster, and pull up Government Exhibit 3F104 and 3F108? What's depicted in these two images?
The damage to the driver's side.
You mentioned a Molotov cocktail earlier.
Yeah.
What's a Molotov cocktail to your understanding?
It's, would you say explosive or something like that? I guess it's a bottle with some type of inflammatory liquid inside and a cloth that you light on fire and it ignites.
Did you eventually get to your home on the day of the car fire?
Yeah,
What did you see when you arrived home?
just the damage. I saw the Molotov cocktail. Yeah,
Are these photographs that we just looked at similar to what you saw when you arrived home?
yeah.
When you say, I saw the Molotov cocktail, what did you see?
The bottle, and it was kind of just burnt up.
Was any law enforcement present when you arrived here to your home?
Yes,
Did you speak to law enforcement that day?
yes,
Did you make a report?
yes,
With respect to your car, was your car able to be repaired after the fire?
no.
And when you said that you saw the bottle for the Molotov cocktail when you returned home, where was that bottle?
On the ground.
Was it on the ground inside or outside of your vehicle?
Outside of the vehicle.
Was it near the vehicle?
Huh?
Where was it in relation to the vehicle?
It was near the vehicle.
What was your understanding of where the Molotov cocktail was found by law enforcement?
In the driver's seat.
I think you mentioned this, but was your car able to be repaired?
No.
What was your reaction to your car being set on fire?
What the f?
When did you see Ms. Ventura at the Soho House relative to the day your car was on fire?
Couple of days later,
Why were you at the Soho House?
I reached out to Sean Combs after my car had caught fire and, finally told him that we needed to meet up to talk. He had been wanting to talk to me. So after the fire, I was like, this is getting out of hand. I need to talk to him.
Why was it Mr. Combs you reached out to after the fire?
Because I knew he had something to do with it.
Who, if anyone, helped arrange the meeting at the Soho House?
This man named D-Rock and my manager, Dennis Cummings.
Where at Soho House was the meeting held?
It was held. The rooms are not there anymore, but they used to have meeting rooms on the first floor.
In which city was the meeting held?
Hollywood.
Can you describe what happened when you arrived at the Soho House?
Yeah. I walked in and I met D-Rock. He was escorting me into the room. And then I got to the room. One wall was all window, and Sean Combs was standing there staring out the window with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. Yeah, it was just me and him in the room. No security, nobody.
What happened when it was just you and Mr. Combs in the room at the Soho House?
We discussed, pretty much the whole story about how me and Cassie first started to date, to what it was, to how it ended. And his whole point was, we were homies, that was my girl. I let him know that, she told me they were broken up, and I took her word for it. Yeah.
What was Mr. Combs' demeanor during this meeting?
Very calm. He kept offering me water. He offered me water twice.
What was your reaction to his demeanor?
It was very off-putting. It was weird that he was so calm.
And how did you react when Ms. Ventura arrived?
I was upset to find out that she had kind of went back to him.
What did Ms. Ventura do when she arrived?
She pretty much kind of explained that we fell in love and things just happened, and,
Can you describe how the meeting with Mr. Combs ended at the Soho House?
Yeah. We stood up, shook hands, and as I was shaking his hand, I said, "What are we going to do about my car?" I made sure to ask him right when our hands were clasped together, where he couldn't run away, and I could look at him square in his eyes, and he looked right back at me, very cold stare, and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Okay." I took my hand from his, and he said, "Wait, I thought we were cool. Is there a problem?" I was like, "You said you didn't burn my car, right? You said that's your word." He said, "Yeah." I was like, "That's it."
When Mr. Combs looked at you and said, I don't know what you are talking about when you asked about your car, what was his tone of voice?
Very calm.
After this meeting, were there any other break-ins at your home?
No.
And after this meeting, was your car ever set on fire again?
No.
Have you seen Mr. Combs since that Soho House meeting?
Yes.
Approximately when did you next see Mr. Combs?
Couple of years later at the Soho House again,
Can you describe what happened when you saw him at the Soho House a few years later?
Yeah, he was with his daughter, and he pulled me to the side and basically apologized for everything. He said, and I quote, "Man, I just want to apologize for everything and all that."
Between the break-in and the car fire and Mr. Combs' apology a few years later, did you have any other conflicts with Mr. Combs in that interim time period?
No. After I got the apology, I kind of found peace with it because I thought, that was the last thing I was expecting to get from him.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Are you aware that DNA was collected from your vehicle?
Yes.
And you kept in touch as much as you could about this incident, fair to say?
Yes. I reached out to the police department a couple of times.
And were you aware that the results came back from the DNA that it came to a female? That's my question.
Same objection.
Sustained.
Do you know that there were results from the DNA?
Objection.
That's overruled.
I tried to reach out to the police. I didn't hear any follow-up about any of the fingerprints or anything.
No eyewitness that puts Sean Combs near or around your property on or about January 9th, 2012, fair to say?
Yeah.
And no eyewitness or other evidence that anybody affiliated with Mr. Sean Combs was on or around your property on January 9th, 2012. Is that true?
Objection.
Hold on for a second. That's sustained.
You don't have any information, do you personally, that anybody affiliated with Mr. Combs was on or around your property at the time of the damage to your vehicle? Is that true?
No.
So it's January 9th of 2012, but before that date, if you can just lock in, before that date, your relationship with Ms. Ventura has ended, fair to say?
Yes.
And you knew it ended because she told you it ended, fair to say?
I don't know if she told me it ended. We just stopped talking.
And you and Ms. Ventura had been talking every day for about a year, is that true?
For the most part.
And when I say every day, I'm not saying it has to be just on the phone. It could be in person, text, but you were in close communication with her, right?
Yes.
And that's why it was surprising to you, or I think your word today before this honorable court and the jury, you were very confused to hear that she was dating Sean Combs while dating you, right?
Yes.
Ms. Ventura was not frank with you, true?
True.
She played you. That was your words, right?
Yes.
When she played you, she was convincing about that, right? You had no clue?
No clue.
You were with her a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
True?
Yes.
In 2011, Ms. Ventura confided in you, true?
Yes.
And you confided in her?
Yeah.
You were even so close with her that for Christmas that year you flew across the country to Connecticut, her home state. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you spent about 3 days Christmas with Ms. Ventura, true?
Yes.
Her mother and father.
And her brother.
And her brother. And you did things with their family, true?
Yes.
And it was a great time?
Yeah.
And you felt very close with her?
Yes.
And this is after the trespass into your home, true?
Yes.
With regards to, you said that you were hurt when the relationship ended with Ms. Ventura, true?
Yes.
Because you really cared for her and you knew your feelings for her and you felt that she felt the same about you, true?
Yes.
By the time of December 22nd of 2011, that's when your house, remember when you talked to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
I want to talk to you about some of that, okay?
Okay.
You believe that you left your front door open. When I say open, I mean unlocked. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And there was no forced entry into the home, true?
No.
Am I correct?
Yes.
And in the home there was no damage to the home? By damage, I mean there was no chairs turned over, glass broken, holes in the wall, things like that. True?
No.
The only thing, I'm not belittling it, but the only things that were displayed differently is there were some Christmas presents that were unwrapped, right?
Yes.
And your dog was behind the door?
Right.
Locked in a bathroom, basically.
Yeah.
True?
True.
And no other disturbance there, right?
No.
And you spoke with Mr. Combs or Sean that evening or that morning, right?
I don't know when. I can't remember.
Do you remember calling?
You're talking about after the break-in?
I'm saying when you went back to your house and you called him on his phone, you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yeah.
And Mr. Combs, he was calm, right?
Yes?
He didn't curse at you, did he?
No.
He didn't threaten you, right?
No.
He just said, we need to talk, basically. Right?
Yeah.
And you were demanding from him, are you at my house? That's basically what you were saying.
Yeah.
Later, after you got home, you called Mr. Combs again because he's not at your house, right?
Right?
And he answers the phone, true?
Yes.
Again, he's calm, right?
Yes.
And he tells you, I'm coming to your house. Something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
There is no mention of a firearm, right?
No.
No one threatened you with a firearm, right?
No.
You came to meet him. You had no belief that he had a firearm. No one. Ms. Capricorn Clark didn't tell you that, right?
At that point, I really didn't know. Maybe he would. I couldn't call it.
Let's do it this way. Ms. Capricorn Clark didn't tell you that, right?
No, but I took it.
Hold on. Mr. Steele,
I guess what the judge is telling us, the answer to the question, you related a conversation with Ms. Capricorn Clark to the jury, right?
Yeah.
She didn't tell you he is armed with a firearm, right?
No.
You are a strong person. Is that fair to say? That's how you categorize yourself.
Yeah.
You are a principled person, fair to say?
Yes.
And you went back to your home, you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to fight Mr. Combs if he was there, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody has the right to wait for you in your home, whether damage was done or not. That was your position, right?
Yeah. If you want to talk, you can text me. We can talk. But this crossed the line.
And Ms. Ventura, when she told you and confided in you about her relations with Mr. Combs, she told you that there was physical abuse, right?
Yes?
And that bothered you because you were, these are my words, if it is not true, just say it's not true. You were in love with her, right?
Yeah.
And she never told you, as close as you were with her, that there was any type of sexual abuse. Is that true?
No.
Am I correct?
Yes.
And she also told you, with all your dealings with her, texting every day or speaking every day or seeing her every day, whatever, the relationship is what I'm talking about. You never saw Mr. Combs do anything inappropriate to Ms. Ventura. Is that true?
No.
Let me just ask it differently. Am I correct? Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
You never were interrupted by Mr. Combs, true?
No.
You spent time with her freely, right?
Right.
And Ms. Ventura was free with you. She was carefree as far as you could tell, true?
Yeah.
Mr. Combs made it clear to you that he was also confused, true?
True.
Just like you, he's similarly situated. He did not, to your knowledge, know that you were dating Ms. Ventura, true?
Yes. True.
And he wants to understand how did this happen, and you want to understand how did this happen, basically, right?
Yes.
And Ms. Ventura was living two different lives. Is that true?
Yes.
Objection.
overruled.
When you went in that room with Mr. Combs, no weapons, to your knowledge, true.
No.
He definitely didn't threaten you, true.
No.
In fact, he was gracious. I think your word was really calm.
Yeah.
And you were professional as well, true?
Yes.
And it was an understanding, a meeting that this was about a girl, a relationship, and both of you guys were played. That's pretty much how it ended, true?
True?
And the person who played you is the same person who played Sean. It's Ms. Ventura, true?
True.
To your knowledge, we're approximately, if you don't mind, approximately 13 and a half years after January 9th, 2012, when your car was damaged. Is that approximately true?
Yes.
To your knowledge, no one has been charged or arrested for the damage to your car. Am I right?
No.
Objection.
Sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer.
In the 13 and a half years that has passed in California, have you ever been notified that there's been any other action on this case in California?
Action on?
The car, the damage to the car.
No.
Do you remember back when you were with Ms. Ventura, did she have multiple phones, if you can remember?
I don't think I remembered that.
Do you remember telling that to law enforcement, that she had multiple phones?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Can I ask you to look at something in this honorable court, with this court's permission, to see if it jogs your memory?
Yeah. If I said it, I guess I said it.
Do you know what a burner phone is? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With regards to the night of the trespass in your home, I think you called it a break-in. I guess more narrowed to trespass, but that's what I'm talking about, okay?
Right.
You received a phone call from Ms. Ventura explaining that she gave your home address to Combs. Do you remember that?
The morning of, not the evening.
About 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. Fair to say?
Yes.
I'm just trying to coordinate you.
Yeah.
And that information about your address, according to what you were told, came from Ms. Ventura to Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Mascotti, you were asked by Mr. Steele some questions on cross-examination about Ms. Ventura confiding in you. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
And do you recall that Mr. Steele asked you about Ms. Ventura confiding in you about Mr. Combs being physically abusive to her?
Yes.
What did Ms. Ventura confide in you specifically about that abuse?
That he would hit her. Sometimes kick her.
Do you also recall that Mr. Steele asked you some questions about whether Ms. Ventura was free when she was with you?
Yeah.
And he described her as carefree. Do you remember that line of questions?
Yes.
Directing your attention to the day of the break-in, the morning when Ms. Ventura called, would you describe her as carefree when she called you that morning?
No.
Would you describe her as carefree throughout that day when you saw her?
No.
You were also asked some questions about a conversation you had with Capricorn Clark. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
Now, what exactly did Ms. Clark tell you about how she ended up at your house that morning?
She told me that Sean Combs and an affiliate came to her apartment and made her get in the car to come up to my house.
What else, if anything, did she say about how they made her get in the car?
They forced her physically.
What were your concerns, if any, about going to your house that day?
I didn't really know what I was walking into, but I was so angry at first. Then, once I thought about it, not really knowing if they had weapons or if there was any type of situation like that, that's when I called the police.
And did you know either way whether there were any weapons involved?
No.
And when Ms. Ventura called you that morning, what was your understanding of what she was scared of?
Him finally knowing that we have been hanging out and that he had my address, and he was probably going to come over to my house.
And who's the him that you were describing?
You said what now?
When you say him, who are you referring to?
Sean Combs.
And how would you describe Cassie that day of the break-in?
Just really shook.
Do you have an understanding of why she was shook?
Yeah, because of just the circumstance of him finding out about us.
You were also asked questions about your feelings for Ms. Ventura. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you were asked about whether you cared for Ms. Ventura. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Why did your relationship with Ms. Ventura end despite having feelings for Ms. Ventura?
The drama, it was just getting out of hand and kind of wanted to give her some space.
What drama are you talking about?
The break-in and everything.
Why did you want to give it space?
Just feel like things were just getting out of hand, you know? And for my safety, for her safety, you know.
Mr. Mascotti, do you recall being asked on cross-examination some questions about the meeting you had with Mr. Combs at the Soho House?
Yes.
Do you recall that Mr. Steele asked you questions about what Mr. Combs was thinking during that meeting?
Yeah.
Objection.
Can you rephrase the question?
Do you recall that Mr. Steele asked you questions about whether Mr. Combs thought the meeting was about a girl?
Yes.
Do you recall testifying earlier today about a conversation that you had with Mr. Combs at the end of that meeting?
Could you repeat that?
Do you recall testifying earlier today about a conversation you had with Mr. Combs about that meeting?
Yes.
Do you recall testifying that Mr. Combs said, "I don't know what you're talking about"?
Yes.
Objection.
Hold on, Mr. Mascotti. If there's an objection, sometimes you can't hear it.
Okay. Sorry.
That's overruled. We got the answer. Let's go.
Mr. Combs said, "I don't know what you're talking about when you asked about your car. Is that correct?"
Yes.
Did you believe Mr. Combs when he said he didn't know what you were talking about?
Objection.
Ms. Johnson, can you just rephrase the question?
What was your understanding when Mr. Combs said he didn't know what you were talking about at the end of that conversation?
Objection.
That's overruled.
You can answer.
That he was lying.
No further questions.
All right, Mr. Steele.
Thank you, sir. No?
No further cross. All right, Mr. Muscati, thank you very much. You're done.
Thank you.
What, if any, long-term romantic partners were you aware of Mr. Combs having during the time that you worked for him?
Cassie, Ms. Porter, there is a woman named Gina.
How many times, if at all, did you witness Mr. Combs be physically violent with Cassie?
Once. It was in the second half of 2015.
Where were you when this happened?
On Mr. Combs' jet.
How did you first notice that something was happening?
I heard a glass break. I looked over my right shoulder.
And what did you see in the back of the plane when you looked over your right shoulder?
I saw Mr. Combs standing over Cassie.
Can you describe for us how Cassie's body was positioned?
Yeah. She was on her back and her legs were extended up in a way that would indicate that she was trying to create space between the two of them.
And what was Mr. Combs doing?
He was standing above her, over her.
What, if anything, was in his hand?
He had another glass in his hand that he was holding up?
He was holding it up above Cassie?
Yes.
What did that glass look like?
It was a whiskey rocks glass.
As this was happening, what, if any, voices could you hear from that back of the plane?
I mean, there was tremendous commotion and scuffle, and then, after the glass crashed, Cassie screamed, "Isn't anybody seeing this?"
Did Mr. Combs say anything before Cassie said, "Isn't anybody seeing this"?
I don't know.
Did you hear his voice at all during this interaction?
Yes.
Do you remember what words he said?
No.
Do you remember what his tone of voice was?
He was angry.
After you looked back and saw Mr. Combs standing over Cassie with a glass in his hand, what did you do?
Nothing.
Did you look away?
Yes.
After you looked away, what did you hear?
Further glass crashing in chaos.
At what point in all of this did Cassie say, "Isn't anybody seeing this"?
Maybe a second or two after I turned my head back forward.
Did anyone respond to her?
No.
You said you did nothing. What did security do?
Nothing.
Why didn't you intervene, Mr. Kaplan?
I was 23 years old. All I wanted to do was have a great job in the entertainment industry. I could not believe my good fortune would be working for such an icon. And the last way that I thought that I would be successful in that career would be to compromise his well-being in any way.
Did you ever call the police to report what you saw?
No.
Why not?
Apropos of what I just said, it would not have been keeping with what I was trying to accomplish professionally.
What did Mr. Combs do after you heard the last glass shatter?
He came into the front section of the plane and sat in one of the captain's chairs.
Before he came to the front of the plane, what, if anything, did you hear him say?
He told Cassie to stay in the back.
When he came to the front of the plane, what was his demeanor?
Pretty even-keeled.
So he was calm?
Yeah.
Did anyone go to check on her?
No.
How much longer did the flight last?
Less than an hour.
What do you remember happening in Las Vegas after that flight?
Mr. Combs had a club appearance. We went to the hotel that we were staying at. He and Cassie got ready.
After this incident, how many times, if any, did you see Cassie with bruising or injuries on her face?
One time.
About when was this?
Also the second half of 2015.
Was it before or after the plane incident we have just discussed?
After.
Where did this happen?
I saw her in Mr. Combs's home. Mr. Combs called me via intercom to come see him upstairs. I thought that he was in his bedroom. He was actually in his bathroom. I entered his bedroom. Cassie was crying on the bed with her head in her hands. I walked past her without saying anything to her and met Mr. Combs in his bathroom. It was clear that there was bruising near her right eyebrow and on her forehead where her hands were not covering her face, and I was in that room for less than 3 seconds.
And what happened when you went to Mr. Combs?
He asked me to go pick up several over-the-counter lotions that remedy, lotion remedies of some kind, which I later came to learn were to be mixed together to act as an anti-swelling agent.
When did you stop working for Mr. Combs, Mr. Kaplan?
December 2015.
Why did you decide to leave your job as Mr. Combs' assistant?
The central reason that I left my job as Mr. Combs's assistant was that I was not comfortable or aligned with the physical behavior that had been going on that I had seen pieces of over the course of the months.
I want to ask you about something you just said to my colleague at the U.S. Attorney's Office. You said working with Mr. Combs was the most incredible thing that happened in your life.
At the time, yes.
Tell the jury why you gave that answer.
I think like a lot of people in their early 20s, even those of whom have gone to college, their world is extremely small, and working for Mr. Combs made my world so much bigger in such a short period of time, and the amount of knowledge that I gained, both from a business perspective, but also just in a way of living was so much every day that it was almost like drinking from a fire hose, not in a bad way, but in a particularly overwhelming way, that in many ways was positive.
And tell us about the business perspective.
The reason that I was excited to take the role in the first place is because Mr. Combs is obviously an enormous business mogul across numerous industries. I had been a fan of his since I was a child, and to be frank, I keep lessons from him to this day, from a business perspective that I use in my career every day.
You never worked harder in your life. And they always say, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. Here I go. Looking back at it, was that a good thing or a bad thing?
I can't answer that question. It's proven to be one of the most complicated pieces of my life.
And Mr. Combs, at times, has been very difficult, right?
Yes. I'm a young man, and this is a god among men talking to me.
And you didn't like that he spoke to you that way, right?
Did not.
Fair enough. You liked working there and you didn't want to leave?
I did not want to leave.
And you left because of what you had told the jury that you saw?
Correct.
So, from your perspective, and tell me if this is right, Mr. Combs' temper, what you saw did not help his business?
No, it did not.
Among other things, it prompted a really hardworking, dedicated, beloved person, meaning yourself, to leave the company.
Correct.
What you saw him do offended you, correct?
Yes, it did.
It offended you so much it made you leave your dream job?
Yeah, it shook me tremendously.
And yet, you still, as you sit here today on the witness stand of his trial, you have respect for him?
Yeah, I'd say that it's a complicated relationship at this point. I think I have a lot of complicated relationships in my life, and I think this perhaps falls into that bucket.
And based on what you know, what you saw, what your experience was with him, that's why you have respect for him, correct?
Yeah, the way the time we spent together, the things that he taught me, and the way that I observed him in most cases, yes.
And you didn't want to come here today, right?
I desperately did not want to come here today.
Because you have nothing against Sean Combs, right?
Correct.
And you are here, and you tell me if this is right. Do you feel like you were forced to be here?
I was subpoenaed to be here.
You could not say no.
Correct.
Now, what time of day do you remember seeing injury on Cassie's face over Grammy weekend in 2010?
Late at night, early in the morning.
What do you remember doing earlier that same day?
Well, earlier that day, we did a photo shoot and then went out to dinner, and after that, we went back to Cassie's hotel.
When you say we, who are you talking about?
Cassie and I.
Just the two of you?
Yes,
You said you went back to the hotel. Did I hear that right?
yes.
What hotel, if you remember?
The Beverly Hills Hotel.
What type of room did you and Cassie go back to at the Beverly Hills Hotel?
A one-bedroom suite.
What did you end up doing in that suite?
I fell asleep.
Where did you fall asleep?
I fell asleep on the couch.
In the living room area?
In the living room area, yes.
How did you come to wake up after falling asleep on the couch?
Well, I'm a light sleeper, so I woke up to a little bit of a commotion.
So, what's the first thing you noticed when you woke up?
Cassie walked in.
Walked into the hotel room?
Yes,
And then where did you see her go?
into the bedroom.
What happened after Cassie came into the room?
Sean came in immediately after and asked where she was.
What was his tone of voice?
Angry.
Do you remember what he said?
Where the is she?
How did you respond?
I don't know.
And then what did you see Mr. Combs do next?
Walk into the room.
And by the room, what do you mean?
The bedroom.
So at that point, who was in the bedroom?
Cassie and Sean.
And what did Mr. Combs do after he went into the bedroom after Cassie?
Well, the door was shut.
Objection. Withdrawn based on the answer.
Say that again. I didn't hear the answer.
The door was shut.
Hold on. There was an objection. The witness answered. Let's get a new question.
After Mr. Combs asked where Cassie was, where did you see him go?
In the bedroom.
And then what happened to the door of the bedroom?
The door was shut.
Once the door was shut, what do you remember hearing behind the bedroom door?
Yelling and screaming.
What did you do at that point?
I was just frantic, and I didn't know what to do.
Do you remember how long there was yelling and screaming going on in the bedroom?
I don't recall.
What do you remember happening next?
He opens the door, and he storms out of the hotel room.
Who's the he?
Sean Combs.
And you said you heard yelling and screaming going on in the bedroom? Whose voices did you hear?
The both of them.
Could you describe Mr. Combs's tone of voice?
I don't remember.
Do you remember Cassie's tone of voice?
No, I don't.
When Mr. Combs came out of the bedroom, did you see any visible injuries on him?
No.
Do you remember as you sit here today, one way or the other, whether he said anything to you when he came out of the bedroom?
I don't remember.
After he came out of the bedroom, where did he go?
Out the door.
So he left the hotel room?
Left the hotel room.
What do you remember seeing next?
Cassie.
And when you saw Cassie, what did you observe about her appearance?
She had a swollen eye and a busted lip, and knots on her head.
What was her demeanor?
Distraught, upset.
Earlier, you mentioned that profiles have notes associated with them. Is that right?
Correct.
I want to direct your attention to the portion of this document that says profile note. Is that what you were referring to?
Yes.
Let's focus now on the bottom two bullets here. Could you please read those?
Always spills candle wax on everything and uses excessive amounts of oil. Place the room out of order upon departure for deep cleaning. Please authorize an extra $1,000 when guest stays with us to cover any room damages.
Do these sometimes reflect employee complaints about the stays?
Those are comments made by employees.
Do they reflect all the concerns that hotel staff has about guests, or just some of them?
Just some of them.
Let's turn to the next page, and we will read an example. Could you please read this entry?
Sure. January 10th, 2010. Room number 804 under the name Star. Housekeeping contacted manager on duty at approximately 14:45, stating room attendant noticed wax from candles while executing daily service. Manager on duty inspected room and found large deposits of candle wax on carpets in living room area and on the nightstands in bedroom area. Pictures taken. Security to complete incident report. Miscellaneous charge of $500 posted to resident's account for damage and cleaning.
Are these notes documenting damage to a room on a particular occasion?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.